With the #2 pick in the 2016 NBA draft, the Los Angeles Lakers knew that B.I. would be a project. They knew that with his frame, wingspan, and skill set, that he would be a franchise-level talent that they could either build around or add to their other young pieces in D'Angelo Russell and Julius Randle. The thing that everyone knew about Brandon is that he had all the tools, but it was a matter of whether or not he was ever going to be able to put it all together. Now, there were a few media outlets / analysts or sectors of NBA fans that believed that he was a bust or on the verge of becoming that. Well, during the season, with his monthly incremental improvements and his monster play since the All-Star break, the NBA should be on notice and should already be game planning for B.I. in the future, regardless of his future in LA or elsewhere. Now, before we get started on the scary truth about B.I., I'm going to invite you guys to definitely subscribe to the channel to keep getting high NBA content delivered fresh to your mobile device. Praise be to the Most High. Let's get it. Back in college, B.I. was making waves on the scene with his tenure with Duke. What I was seeing with Brandon Ingram in college is what I wanted to see with Andrew Wiggins' development. I saw Ingram getting better basically every game, learning different moves and adding new jab steps and hesitations along with triple threat mastery throughout the course of the season. And when looking at this, it all makes sense that Brandon Ingram's father, Donald, was quite the hooper, and he used to play with NBA star Jerry Stackhouse locally, where those two were pretty good friends on the court. Now his brother even gets a lot of credit, with Brandon describing that the experience playing with him is, end quote, the best thing that ever happened to my game, end quote. Now Jerry Stackhouse even became B.I.'s AAU coach, which B.I. credited Stackhouse saying that he, end quote, took me to the next level, end quote. Now there is also something about B.I. that I always say is a characteristic of most great wing players in NBA history, is that they usually have a massive late growth spurt. Now, he was about 6'2" as a freshman in high school, and over the next 4 years, he shot up by almost 8 inches. And this is usually of the greats because when you're short, you have to develop your skills as a ball handler, shooter, and lateral defender, which usually helps you as you grow because you just gain an advantage in length that you didn't have before. Now, need examples of this? Just look at NBA comparison. Kevin Durant, who was a 6'2" sophomore in high school. Michael Jordan was a 5'11" baller as a sophomore as well. Scottie Pippen, who was 6'1", a walk-on in college, and you can just go on and on. All these players are known for having great floor transition skills, especially for their size. Outside of Jordan, who was 6'6", but the others were really tall. Now, in his freshman year at Duke, he led the squad to a Sweet 16 appearance, ranking top 3 among the school's all-time freshman leaders in scoring, which was 3rd. 3-pointers made, 2nd. And in 20-point games, which he was tied for 2nd. He also averaged 17.3 points per game, 6.8 reads, 2 assists per game, and 34.6 minutes per game, with 44.2% from the field and 41% from 3-point range. This, in combination with the Lakers looking for that next great wing star, led to the then 6'9" Brandon Ingram being taken with the #2 pick. Now, in his rookie season, he made some waves, but not too much noise. He made the all-rookie 2nd team, and in his first career start, which was against the Warriors, he scored a then-high 16 points, and people knew that the Lakers would have to do some work with him in the offseason, with him at times working a little too hard to score and teach him how to score with more ease and more within the flow of the offense. Magic Johnson showed how high he was on Brandon Ingram, saying, quote, "I would say probably the only player that we would say, hey, who would probably not move is Brandon Ingram," end quote, because they are, end quote, excited about Brandon, his length, his size, his agility, his athleticism. And then when you think about, he was a baby coming in his first year last season, and we see that he has a really high ceiling, and we're excited about what he can possibly turn into, end quote. To touch on the physical tool set of B.I., he stands about 6'9". Yeah, he's about 190 pounds soaking wet, yes, or taller, with a 7'3" wingspan, which is comparable to KD. His sophomore season showed, it basically showed us more of the potential, and in his first game, and really his only game in his summer league appearance, he scored 26 points, and honestly, he just looked a couple steps ahead of everybody. All right, we saw him drop a career high in the regular season, 32 points, in an overtime loss to the Golden State Warriors, going blow for blow with his draft day comparison, KD. This is a great sign for Laker fans and the organization alike, because it was clear that he was putting together all the pieces to make him a dangerous wing in the league. Now, this upward trend was halted momentarily with him suffering a groin strain, which caused him to miss 12 straight games, and he later suffered a neck muscle contusion and was placed into the NBA's concussion protocol, which caused him to miss the rest of the season. Now, this season, I will say that I had a watchful eye on his development because I wanted to see if he was going to put it all together and really have that breakout season that I expected him to. In a strange way, he didn't, but he did. Alright, now early on in the season, he received a 4-game suspension for the instigating of the Spitgate incident. But to be honest with you, I didn't mind this, and quite frankly, I actually like seeing this. He was pissed at the notorious, for lack of a better word, NBA foul thought James Harden, who was complaining to the referees about not getting the call to go his way. B.I., this man had enough of it and just shoved this man. Like, yo, shut up. You know what I'm saying? And what I thought was funny with this incident is that when the punches started getting thrown, this man B.I. was at half court, and this man flew in there to get in a lick. He ain't try to pull nobody away. He went straight for his licks. And I love this incident because that frustration with nonsense and garbage is what is needed for a player to actualize on potentiality. This is why we see Andrew Wiggins being so mediocre in the NBA, because there's no spark, there's no combustion, no reaction that can get his system running. It was refreshing to see Brandon Ingram do this because truly it set the tone for how his season progressed. After starting the season with a player who essentially plays his position in LeBron James, it was clear that his growth was somewhat stunted, but after learning throughout the course of the season, along with a combination of LBJ's groin injury causing him to miss close to 20 games, it was very apparent that B.I. is about to be a star, seeing that he has turned it up throughout the season. In his first 20 games before the ankle injury that sidelined him for 7, he averaged 15.2 points per game, 47% from the field, 32.4 3-point percentage, and 62.6% from the line, which is good, but it's not really what we expected from the number 2 pick. However, over his final 32 games post-injury, he was averaging 20.2 points per game, 51% from the field, 33% from out of town, and 69.7% from the line. Now, his post-All-Star numbers are really what has some people shook, though, with him turning up the heat basically to average 28, 7.6, 2.8 assists per game, 58% from the field, and 46% from 3-point range, and 75% from the line. These are just straight up like Paul George, Kevin Durant type numbers on the most part, and he's just been murdering the game right now. His handle this year is smooth yet simple, going left to right, less and more downhill. Now, his decision making on his post moves is quick and efficient, and he's been getting to the basket with more ease, picking his angles better, and being more aggressive. And let me say one thing too, don't let his assist numbers fool you. He can diamond as well. I've seen too many games where, he drives, defense has to step up, he just pops it up to JaVale or hits him with a wraparound pass for the easy jam. What I didn't like with the Brandon Ingram situation is that so many people were ready to write him off with the arrival of this shiny new toy, and Kyle Kuzma remind me of Toy Story, man. People have to understand that Kyle Kuzma, while an improving one, he's basically a streak shooter, and it's not someone you build around. Brandon Ingram has franchise potential and is somewhat, if he's healthy, GMs would pine for him. All right, this notion that earlier in the year that people were ready to say that Kyle Kuzma is better than Ingram, it's just nonsense. All right, and it's just the media trying to pit teammates against each other, and just goes to show you why some people really aren't great talent evaluators. People should know that there is a reason LBJ did not want A. Wiggs when he went back to Cleveland. All right, it's because he needs shooters to kick to. B.I. is more of a classic forward who needs the ball to be maxed out. Now, while he can still be effective at setting flare screens, making great passes, slipping to the basket on good cutting, he is best when he's allowed to have his spots to go to work. Now, bringing LBJ there completely stunted his growth. Brandon Ingram, if he can return healthy, will definitely and undeniably be rising because of his improvements. Now, while people can claim that the young kids gave up on the season after the trade rumors, those numbers, look, man, they don't look like someone who gave up. And to be honest with you, if you watch the games, he looked like one of the few Lakers who actually gave it their all. Now, one thing I am worried about with Mr. Brandon Ingram is this deep venous thrombosis issue. For those who don't know, this occurs when a blood clot, also known as a thrombus basically, forms in one or more of the deep veins in your body, usually in your limbs, most of the time in your legs. This can cause swelling or pain, and however, it can also be undetected with no symptoms. Now, the reason that this is such a scary, serious issue is that these blood clots that are in your veins, they can break loose and move through your bloodstream, and they can get lodged in your lungs, which could in turn block your blood flow, which would lead to a pulmonary embolism, which basically means you're dead. Now, because there are no symptoms for this, who knows how hard he's been playing with this pain in his shoulder, or how long he's dealt with this injury, with a burning desires for the game. This is why we sometimes should be careful with how we evaluate things like a player's heart or their commitment to the game. Sometimes we just don't know. And to be honest, this injury may just end his career as a similar one did to Chris Bosh. However, it's also possible that it could be managed. Serena Williams had blood clot issues before, and who knows, B.I. may be able to bounce back. But to put it this way, this season, the game seemed to slow down for Brandon, especially in the latter half. His maturity was in full effect, with him handling the trade talks extremely well and him not giving up despite all the noise most of the season. Now, it's a shame we only got to see him for about 50 or so games, and I honestly hope that he can pull through this injury, not just so that we can see him chase greatness, but for his own life. Now, I'm glad people are starting to wake up and see that, yes, the Lakers, they do have some great talent, and who knows, on the trade market, this could be interesting this season, this off season, and how good he can be if in the right situation, whether he gets traded or if he stays. One thing to add on is this: many people should take note that it is easy for players to go to small market teams and develop because there's no spotlight to basically grill their mistakes. Just look at Greek Freak. This man used to throw up air balls in his first couple years. Nobody grilled him about it. Nobody got on him about it. Now he's balling and doing his thing, rightfully so. Playing in the big city is tough, and this should be looked at when these teams are scouting and understood. Now, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. I have more coming soon. And if you're not subscribed by now, definitely click that button and the bell next to it to stay updated on new videos and new uploads. And you already know to never be mad at me, but to be mad at yourself for being an underachiever. Play the outro.